Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and today we're taking a look at the Deathwing. This video is sponsored by CMO Games. More on that later. Battling with Deathwing Terminators, a gamer's guide. With the upcoming Codex Supplement Dark Angels and Deathwing Assault Box, fans of the First Legion have an even bigger excuse, as if they needed one, to field an entire army of models encased in Terminator armor. We've asked gaming presenter Nick for some good tips on using such a force, after the Deathwing fought on Battle Report this week on Warhammer Plus. So I did not see that fight on Battle Report, but I'm sure it was cool. Very nice looking piece of photography right here. Awesome looking army. Nick, Terminators are just cool, right? Iconic, hulking, and even tougher in the current edition of the game than they've ever been before. It's every Space Marine player's dream to field an entire army of them. And I'm not sure if anybody's been playing for a long time, but back in the day, Terminator save used to be a 3+ save on 2d6. So you'd roll 2d6 and the combined number was your saving throw. And they needed a 3+. So basically anything but double ones and you were fine. Now, obviously the AP back then was a lot higher too, but I don't know if I'd go as far to say they've never been as tough. But when it comes to fielding whole armies of models sporting tactical dreadnought armor, no chapter does it quite like the Dark Angels. It's tempting, isn't it? A whole army of super elite models, nigh on impossible to kill. Here are the advantages. So not many models to paint. That is definitely an advantage. An all-Terminator army has fewer models to paint than other forces. The 750-point army you use in Battle Report this week is just 16 models, 3 squads, and Belial. To make this up to 2,000 points, simply double it, add a Land Raider, a Dreadnought, and a Librarian in Terminator armor, and you're on your way. They'll be painted up in no time, as demonstrated by Warhammer TV painting team. Okay, so interesting. They played basically with the Deathwing Assault Force, just a 750-point game, so that's pretty cool. Tough as a bastion. With toughness 5, a 2+ save, and 4+ invulnerable save, and 3 wounds, Terminators are living fortress. Taking punishment few other infantry can survive. Try putting a squad on an objective and see how many enemy try to come and take it off you. But if you think normal Terminators are tough, you need to check out the Dark Angels Deathwing Knights. They have 4 wounds apiece, and their inner circle rule depletes incoming damage, which means they'll have to nail them with a damage 5 attack just to kill one outright. So like all Terminators, when you take the shield, you get the extra wound, so they go from 3 wounds to 4 wounds. And then the special rule for Deathwing Knights, or in this case they're calling it the inner circle rule, subtracts 1 from damage. So very cool, 5 wounds to kill 1. And here we see the inner circle rule. Each time an attack is allocated to a model in this unit, subtract 1 from the damage characteristic of that attack. Deep Strike. Teleporting into battle means Terminators can impact the game exactly where they need to. Whether targeting a troublesome enemy unit, dropping down onto a primary objective, or helping you score secondary missions like deploy teleport homers behind enemy lines and engage on all fronts. For extra spice, the Dark Angel Inner Circle Task Force enhancement, Deathwing Assault lets characters and their attached unit deep strike in the first turn, so you can alpha strike before an enemy has a chance to react. Okay, so that's pretty cool, but it is an enhancement, so it's only going to give it to one character and his attached unit if he has one. So Deathwing Assault, Deathwing, model with the deep strike ability only. The Bear's unit can be set up using the deep strike ability and reinforcement step of your first, second, or third movement phase, regardless of any mission rules. So you're paying points for an enhancement, and it's letting one unit come in on the first turn. If you don't use it on the first turn, or at least use the threat of it, you've wasted those points, because otherwise you could have just done that anyway. So you have to have a pretty clear idea of what you're going to do to come in on the first turn if you're going to be paying points for this. So then teleport homers. Terminator units can set up a teleport homer before the game begins, allowing them to arrive via rapid ingress for no command points. Opponents will have to be wary of this and may sacrifice units to be near it to stop that happening, so you can even use it as a distraction. So rapid ingress is pretty good for Terminators, because rather than just dropping in and then having that 9-inch charge you got to make, you have the ability to potentially drop them back behind cover or something like that, still relatively close to your opponent, but potentially out of sight, or maybe not if you're looking to distract. And then on your turn, you're going to get your move and then your charge, so you could potentially be much more of a threat. Alright, so dedicated detachments. The first company task force in Codex Space Marines is a great way to field an all-Terminator force, while Codex Dark Angels includes the Inner Circle Task Force. The detachment rule, Vowed Target, obliterates enemies holding objectives, and combined with the Deathwing rule, gives you +1 to hit the target of your Oath of Moment. So you can basically kiss goodbye to any important enemy units controlling an objective. Watch your keywords too. In Dark Angels armies, all veteran units and dreadnoughts gain the Deathwing keyword. Useful indeed. And then detachment rule, Vowed Target. The start of your command phase, select one objective marker. Until the start of your next command phase, that objective marker is your vowed objective marker. Each time a Deathwing infantry unit from your army makes an attack that targets a unit within range of the vowed objective marker, add 1 to the wound roll. So it is Deathwing infantry only, and you do pick one objective at the start of your command phase, and then it's +1 to wound. So all your Deathwing stuff is going to be +1 to hit your Oath of Moment target. And then if your Oath of Moment target is also on that objective, you're going to have +1 to wound. So pretty easy little combo to pull off. Very cool, very effective. Both squads have a character. You won't have many units in your army, so you'll likely find that most, if not all, units have a character. My top picks from Codex Space Marines are the Librarian in Terminator Armor, giving your unit sustained hits 1, and Captain in Terminator Armor, whose Rites of Battle lets you use a free stratagem each turn on this unit. Also gives you the reroll charge ability, which is definitely nice if you're going to be deep striking in, trying to make that 9-inch charge. From Codex Dark Angels, Belial is a must-have for Deathwing forces. You can give a whole unit precision on critical hits, so you can pick off enemy characters. So that's pretty cool. Precision on your critical hits means that if you roll a 6, a critical hit, you're able to target a character. So if somebody has an attached character in their unit and you're like shooting or meleeing them, your 6s to hit can then be automatically put onto that character, as where normally you'd have to chew through the whole squad to kill off that character. You can take out attached characters pretty easily. Now, I gotta disagree though when you say that because you only have a few units, most of your units are gonna have a character. That's definitely not true. Characters are fairly expensive, and Terminators are fairly expensive. So the idea that each of your Terminator units is gonna have an attached character is just bonkers. Because like realistically, you're probably gonna want to have something like 4 or 5 Terminator units at least if you're playing an all Deathwing army. So you're probably not gonna have 4 or 5 characters. So I don't know why they would say most, if not all. And then we have Nick's Deathwing army. So here's a typical Terminator heavy army based on 2 Deathwing assault boxes and a few extras added in. So we have Belial, 85 points. We have Librarian in Terminator armor with a Deathwing assault enhancement, 105 points. So that means him and his attached squad can drop in on the first turn. And then we have Deathwing Knights, 5 models, 290 points. Okay, so they went way up. Deathwing Knights again, 5 models, 290 points. Deathwing Terminator Squad, 10 models, 410 points. Deathwing Terminator Squad, 5 models, 205 points. Deathwing Terminator Squad, 5 models, 205 points. Land Raider, 240 points. Ballistic Dreadnought, 140 points. So total 1970. I'm assuming there's another attachment you would put in that army as well. They just didn't want to spoil it because they're not showing it off in this. But yeah, we see some big points changes. Definitely notice that right off the bat. Now a quick message from today's sponsor. CMO Games has been selling Games Workshop products online for over 20 years. They carry the full line of Games Workshop products, including Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, Necromunda, Blood Bowl, paint tools, and more. Almost all Games Workshop products are priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games takes pre-orders for most Games Workshop products released at their earliest date possible. 12:01 a.m. on Saturday, they go live. Most of these pre-order products are also priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games offer free shipping in the US 48 with an order of $50 or more. Their customer service is top-notch and they ship most orders within 24 hours. Visit CMOGames.com using the affiliate link in the description and let them know that you heard about CMO Games from Warhammer Man. Now back to the video. But this army specifically would have 1 Ballistic Dread, 1 Land Raider, 30 Terminators, and then 2 Terminator characters. So pretty good. Definitely pricey though. Man, they really did raise the points on these guys. And I'm not saying they didn't deserve it. Like, we don't know what the rest of the rules are or anything, but 290 points seems like a lot. Now, the -1 damage rule is definitely good. And then they had the strat before that was -1 damage in combat if they got charged. So having 4 wounds with potentially -2 damage. So like essentially a knight would have to hit them for 6 damage to like instant kill 1 Terminator. Definitely makes them pretty strong and pretty durable. And a lot of stuff now only does like 2 damage in combat or maybe like 3 damage. So again, having the ability to -2 damage is definitely a big deal. But again, 290 points for 5 guys is a lot of freaking points. And that's the Deathwing Knights too. That's not even the Deathwing Command Squad. In this force, Belial is attached to one of the units with Deathwing Knights mounted in the Land Raider, while the other unit of Knights is Deep Strike and waiting to drop down. The Librarian is attached to a large unit of 10 Deathwing, arrives via Deep Strike on turn 1, with mass firepower and sustained hits. The other Deathwing Knight units and Ballistic Dreadnought are deployed on the table to take objectives and dominate the battlefield. So one thing I do really like, especially from like combat patrol games we've been playing, is putting the Librarian with a squad of Terminators. The sustained hits is massive, and it's not just shooting, it's sustained hits for shooting and combat. So all your 6s are going to get an extra hit, and it just makes for a massive amount of extra damage, whether it's with like the Storm Bolters, the Assault Cannon, or whatever heavy weapon you take in your unit of Terminators. And then, of course, like with their fists or chain fists potentially. So obviously, Terminators are very strong. I'm interested, though, just to double check the actual points. Okay, so this was the updated points from the most recent balanced status slate. So we do see Belial, 85 points. Deathwing Command Squad was 210 points for 5. Deathwing Knights were 235 points for 5. And Deathwing Terminators were 200 points for 5. So Deathwing Knights went up by 55 points. And then Deathwing Terminators went up by 5. and then we don't see Deathwing Command, which I'm still really curious if that's still a unit. I really hope it is. I mean, I don't think most armies probably going to take more than 6 units of Terminators, especially with the points going up. But realistically, I would like that to be an option, because oftentimes I think with Terminators, like, it's cool to have a 10-man unit with a librarian attached. It's definitely awesome, especially if you want to like secure the center. But I do like the idea of like a bunch of 5-man Terminator units. All right, so don't want to make this video too long, but the Deathwing Command Squad, current rules, at least before the new Codex Supplement drops, has the Apothecary, which lets you return 1 destroyed model per turn, which is awesome. Add 1 to the objective control characteristics of the unit, and then add 1 to advance and charge rolls. And then you can do heroic intervention for 0 command points. So that is all like massive stuff right there. Being able to bring back 1 Terminator a turn is absolutely amazing. +1 to objective control is huge if you're going to use like a big unit to try to secure like the center of the board or a key objective. And then obviously +1 to advance and charge makes them substantially more reliable if you're going to drop in. So previously, if you had a captain attached to the Deathwing Command Squad, you had reroll charges for free, and then you had +1 to advance and charge. So you had an 8-inch rerollable charge, which was fairly reliable. Now, we don't know if that's still going to exist, but when you couple on top of that, bringing back one of your 9-character Terminators a turn, pretty freaking awesome. And then for the actual Deathwing Terminator Squad, ignore any and all hit roll modifiers. In addition, add 1 to the hit roll against your Oath of Moment target. And then the Deathwing Knights are what really shines because of the Inner Circle ability. Subtract 1 from the damage characteristic of attacks. So yeah, interesting to see the big points jump on the Deathwing Knights. That is pretty crazy. Going from 235 up to 290 basically makes it so you're going to take a lot less of them. And then also probably not going to be taking units of 10. Now, we don't know what other stratagems, what other like special rules they're going to have or anything like that. It does appear that they got rid of like the maces and the flail. We see them with like the swords. So we'll have to see how the actual like weapons look right now and what options they have and everything. So it's tough to judge if that points change was like justified, but that is a huge difference. I mean, most armies probably going to be taking at least 10 Deathwing Knights if you're running all Terminators. So right off the bat, that's 110 points extra, or like 110 points that you don't get to put in your army anymore. So big deal right there for sure. And then obviously the regular Terminator squads went up by 5, and then we don't even know if the Deathwing Command Squads are still a thing. So interesting. Definitely looking forward to seeing the rules and everything, but that does look like a pretty big hit right off the bat. But tough to judge right now. I would prefer them be cheaper and their equipment and like rules not be as good, because if you're only going to have a few units, the last thing you want to do is have those units cost way more. But we'll see. Let me know what you think down below. Always excited to hear back from you guys in the comments. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the first supplement, seeing how the Dark Angels are going to play and everything like that. And then that's going to give us a better idea of what to expect for the future Space Marine detachment rules, supplements, etc. So very cool. Definitely excited myself for the new box set, the rules, all that good stuff. As always, special thanks to CMO Games for sponsoring the video. Check out the link in the description to save 15% on Games Workshop products. That's it for today. Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and I'm out of here.